John Mannion, who just recovers all of Madison, Onondaga counties, parts of Cayuga, Cortland, and Oneida counties. I think I got
well
that
done.
Right. Congressman, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Lots to cover. So let's get to the topics here. I know one of the issues that has been a real big one for your office is Social Security. I mean, what is the message you're trying to send right now to seniors who are nervous and worried about what's going to be happening to their benefits potentially?
Well, we're getting a lot of calls about Social Security in the office, and two quick things I want to say is, number one, I'm here to unapologetically protect Social Security, and number two, my office is here to help. So if people are having challenges engaging with the administration or they're confused about processing applications for benefits or whatever it might be, please contact my office at mannion.house.gov. I've got a great team of people who have already resolved multiple Social Security issues, but those concerns are out there. They're real. When you hear things said like it's a scam, it's a Ponzi scheme, this is the safety net that we have for many, particularly those that are older that have paid into it through their entire working lives. We want to make sure that we protect it, and it's there to support people in their later years.
There are concerns out there. The president and DOJ say that there is waste, there's fraud, there's abuse in the Social Security system. How widespread is this?
Well, what I would like to say about that is, once we had heard some of those things, we immediately engaged with the Social Security Administration and then also with other organizations like Social Security Works. There is a small amount of that, but statements like we have 130-year-olds collecting Social Security, like we heard from the joint address to Congress from the president, is simply not true and dangerous to perpetuate those kinds of false rumors. We need a robust Social Security Administration to make sure that they catch those things, and fraud is a crime. So if people are committing fraud, the penalties are very severe, and we have auditors and inspectors within the Social Security Administration to make sure that doesn't happen. This is a benefit that people need in this country. It's something we paid into. It's part of our promise to each other, and if there are issues of fraud, which my conversations with those administrations have told me that it's very limited, but addressed immediately, and the penalties are very severe if someone's caught engaging in that.
Congressman, do we have any more clarity as far as potential cuts to Social Security? Right. Employees, we've heard, the phone service might not be functional anymore, and people have to go in person. I mean, a lot thrown out there. What do we know for sure?
Sure. Well, there have been multiple changes over the past few weeks in different statements, so that is concerning. To my knowledge, no one's benefit has been cut, and that's what people are very concerned about. What we are getting mixed information on is, can you call in with the application process? That answer currently is yes, but if you are flagged as someone that may be, for whatever reason, need a little additional attention, then people have to go in person. But we've heard stories around the country of individuals being on hold for like 24 hours and then have to show up in person with their documents, fearful that they're going to lose their benefit that they paid into, or they have to change their direct deposit. And it's not just older people, people who have a disability, some spouses who are getting a benefit from, their spouse that has passed away, and also survivors' benefits. So we want to make sure that we help whoever we can.
On to another topic, Medicaid.
Yeah. What
kind of impact could it feel from the House budget passed last week, and it aligns closely to the Senate?
Well, listen, I'm very concerned about that. We have about 30% of our population here in New York 22 that receive Medicaid. Medicaid is that health care support system for our disabled, for our most vulnerable, and this would impact every single congressional district across the country. So I'm a supporter. I am there to defend it, and it's part of that commitment that we've made to each other. It's a program that works, and if we cut it severely, it's going to put a lot of people without health care. The way that budget resolution is laid out, it's just impossible to make the cuts to that committee, which is called Energy and Commerce. It might seem like a unique committee for Medicaid to be in, but Commerce is the piece of that, and it's impossible to not to make those cuts, which were to the tune of $880 billion, without touching Medicaid. So, now we're at that next stage. I'm hopeful that folks working on that budget and the committees that work through it can do whatever they can to protect our most vulnerable, and certainly not make cuts where we're just going to pass that along to tax cuts for the wealthiest.
Not quite lightning round, but I'm going to get to a few more here. Trade war pendulum has been swinging wildly. What kind of control, if any, can Congress have over these sharp and sudden moves?
Sure. Well, there is legislation out there which can sort of take back some of that control. And if you know this, that the administration is using like emergency powers to be able to do those things. There is a place for tariffs, but they need to be well thought out. They need to be targeted. They need to be negotiated. And in our job is to legislate. So when we've had these major tariff situations or trade deals, it has gone through Congress. So I have written onto letters that said that these should be rethought, and just the chaos of the changes that are happening. I mean, since the administration has taken over, we've had 7 changes to trade policy with China alone, and that's really unprecedented, and it's very disruptive, as we've seen, not just to the markets, but what I care about are our local manufacturers. And if I told you the stories, over a dozen, of how this has already impacted trade, particularly with Canada, as many of these items bounce across the border multiple times, it's disruptive, it's not good for our economy, and Congress has given up the authority to a degree over time, and I think there's many that agree, and I'm one of them, that it's time to bring that authority back under Congress, which we still do have that authority, but like I said, it's the use of emergency powers right now which is allowing these dramatic changes.
We are curious to hear what you are hearing from businesses, big and small, about the potential impact of tariffs.
Well, listen, contracts have already been canceled, many of those.
Wow.
Yes, in different areas, some in the food industry, some in agriculture. 90% of our potassium or potash used for agriculture comes from Canada. And that's not just New York State, it's all over the country. So just the threat of a tariff, regardless of whether it's actually carried out, can have a major impact on these markets. And, I've seen, outside of just that one thing, meaning the potassium that's used for fertilizer, but you look at, there's a graph that I looked at that showed arrows moving in each direction across the Canadian border, and I can bet that you can bet which state has the biggest arrow in the bunch. And you're looking at it right here in New York, and particularly where we're positioned in central New York. It could have a major impact. So listen, there's a role to play, but let's really go through the economics of this short-term and long-term and make some sound decisions rather than just knee-jerk reactions.
I'm going to try to squeeze one more in. CHIPS Act.
Yeah.
It seems to be continually under threat. Anything new you can report?
Well, I think there's a lot of good news in that space, because my office continually engages with, staff from the Secretary of Commerce Department. Of course, we're engaged with Micron, local stakeholders here, various levels of government too, including the county and the state. And we get assurances that those contracts are in place. The environmental review is moving forward. So there's a lot of positivity there. But of course, when you hear from some of the highest levels of government that it's at risk, that puts a lot of people on edge, and certainly puts me on edge too. That's why we continue to engage. I can't emphasize enough that for our own national security, which means our own personal security, we need to manufacture semiconductor chips here in this country, and what better place than central New York?
Congressman, thank you. We could get to a lot more. We're just run out of time here, so we'll have you back again. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
We have more local news coming your way tonight at 6 o'clock. The state